There's no place like home. Have you ever said that? If you have, chances are you're feeling pretty good about where you hang your hat. It's a good feeling. But for others, there is no home, or it may be temporary and of substandard condition. Some may be at risk of losing their home. Finding a place where you can live is only the beginning. Feeling at home may come later, but it will take a lot more than just a click of the heels. Hey, Harry.
Good morning, Steve.
How are you?
All right, brother. How are you this morning? Good to see you. What's cooking?
Today I am meeting with Harry Gordon Ellis. He lives in a rooming house in the city of Barrie. Originally from Markham, Ontario, the 58-year-old came here in 2001 to attend a detox clinic for his alcohol and drug addiction. The next 8 years found him living on the streets in Barrie.
I didn't care. Didn't care about anything. You know, and if you can't care about oneself, how in the hell are you supposed to care about anything, period? And I just, lost in the shuffle, and it's like it's a game of survival.
Harry tells me both his parents were alcoholics. At the age of 16, he left home, but still managed to complete grade 13. He followed that by attending Seneca College in a recreational facilities and management course. He was also offered a full hockey scholarship at the University of Pennsylvania, which he turned down. By that time, Harry is battling his own alcoholic demons. Do you ever fear that you might end up on the streets again?
Well, quite honestly, I don't really fear it, because if I were to end up in that situation again, I would probably check out of the Hotel California.
Harry tells me about some of the places where he's taken up refuge, including his night in a doghouse.
And it was drizzling rain, so I just jumped the fence. I says, "Dog, get out of the way. I'm moving in for the night." Well, boy, oh boy, was he a gracious host. Kept me warm, and the boys come out in the morning, and all they seen was my tootsies hanging out the end of the doghouse. They couldn't believe it.
I ask Harry if he'd take me on a tour of some of the locations in Barrie where he has sought shelter.
All right, see those yellow poles are there? Yeah. Oh, it's just like it's hopeless when you're right there. Locked out again. Son of a gun.
So you slept on a boat down here?
Yes. It said the Gizmo on it. I thought, well, that's a pretty handy name. So I just parked my carcass in there, and a lady showed up at 5 in the morning and asked me what the heck I was doing there, and what the heck are you doing here? And she was very polite. She gave me enough money to go get a couple of coffees, but I only got one. Son of a gun. It's amazing what one can think of to have to do when you're homeless. Like, it's a sense of helplessness, hopelessness. Yeah, it's a horrible place to be. Very lonely, very sad. That's where I slept.
Into that stairwell right there?
Right, that black thing. Right up there. I was just seeing the wood here because I used to lay that down so I didn't get the bugs biting me.
Yeah.
I just put my blanket on top there in my sleeping bag and everything, but I can't believe they're still here.
You wouldn't have much shelter though, it's still open.
Oh yeah,
rain,
yeah.
But,
well, if it rained, I'll show you where I went immediately. See that porch? See where that garbage bucket is?
All right.
Well, at least there was a roof there, so I didn't get piece soaking wet.
What about when it's cold, middle of the winter though? Where are you sleeping then? You got to get some warmth.
Well, I spent some time in the Sally, out of the cold.
Yeah.
How are you, gal?
Harry.
All right.
I've been here for 17 months, and I have seen my caseload double. People that have been recently unemployed, manufacturing jobs are down in this area, and people that are coming into the center that said that they would never have used the center before. Busby Center seems to be the last place to turn to.
And how are you, young lady?
Harry takes a seat beside Nora Busby, wife of the late David Busby, for whom the center is named.
You can't judge people by appearances, you know, and you can't always say something that is helpful, like, nice day, isn't it? No, it's not a nice day. It's a bad day for me. Okay, do you want to tell me about it?
I feel, at times I have my moments where I'm disappointed and, thinking what perhaps could have been.
When Harry Ellis lived on the streets, you could find him on any given night sleeping in some back alleyway. But there are those who you can't see or don't notice that have serious housing issues and may be one step away themselves from an emergency shelter.
Spider went up the spout again.
27-year-old Deanna Jepsen was married in Las Vegas. She was 19 years old. It was the perfect wedding. The future looked bright. The stars were in line.
That was the first day of our lives that was supposed to be, we wanted to grow old together and have our kids, and, we talked about the house we'd live in when our grandkids came and stuff like that. Never thought for a second that I would be doing it on my own and so close to not having somewhere to live. Sit on your bum. Good job.
Deanna and her husband take up residence in the United States, where they buy a house and a car. 8 months after their wedding, their son Mikey is born, followed a year and a half later by another son, Camden. 4.5 years after her wedding day, Deanna heads back to Canada with sons in tow, a single mom.
Wanting to provide for my children, but not really having the means to have them looked after and work and balance it all was really, really hard with not having their dad close enough to help out. Good catch.
After living with various family members throughout Ontario, including some time spent at a shelter in Oshawa, she settles down in Orillia, where a friend with rental accommodation gives her a break.
He's let us stay here almost the last 2 years. It's almost been 2 years for a really good rent, and because it's a friend, heating and stuff, we negotiated the cost of and stuff like that. I was pregnant and the 2 kids, and not the market rent, not available in our price range whatsoever. Who is it?
Deanna receives approximately $900 per month through Ontario Works and child support payments. Even with the break in rent, it is a constant financial struggle for her family.
Rent gets paid, and then it's groceries, and then bills, and it's, do I pay this bill or do I buy them fresh fruits and vegetables? Up, 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 up.
The situation is not about to get any easier for the Jepsen family.
And now the house is going up for sale. So we're looking for housing, and everything I keep finding that's even close to our price range is 1 and 2 bedrooms. So I have 3 kids.
For Deanna, trying to find affordable, suitable housing begins with a conversation with a landlord.
Call in and you kind of question about, like, okay, so it's this many bedrooms, where's it located, normal questions that you're gonna ask about a place, and then they start asking you questions. Oh, so how many kids do you have, and what's your source of income? It's almost an instant cutoff for them, like, Ontario Works, okay, sorry, no. Pretty much even gotten to the point of looking at 1 bedrooms now, because what else are we gonna do? I think a lot of people think when they think homeless, they think bums out on the streets, and a lot of people I've heard say, oh, they make more money collecting change cars anyways, and I think it's always pushed to being somewhere else. Homeless people are, in Toronto or something like that. A lot of people are almost shocked to hear of homeless people around this area. I'm a mom of 3 kids that would do anything to have their kids sleep in a warm bed and wake up and have breakfast and go to school and have a good day at school because they had a good night at home and good morning. Bye-bye, grapes. You want bananas? Num num.
Collingwood. For many, it is a tourist haven. The town used to rely on manufacturing to support the area economy, but in the past 10 years, over 1,500 of those jobs have gone up in smoke due to job losses in this sector. Now the service industry has picked up where manufacturing has left off. Good news for job opportunities, but on the other hand,
well, there are some good paying or well-paying tourism jobs. There are, the majority of them are minimum wage or just slightly higher, and it's very difficult for people to make ends meet when they're in that position.
which makes it very difficult for families to find permanent affordable housing living on fixed or limited incomes. 27-year-old Lindsay graduated from architectural technology at George Brown College in Toronto in June of 2008. She found it too expensive to live in the city, so she moved back to Collingwood with her parents. Not being able to find a job in her field, she is currently working 3 jobs in the service industry in Collingwood.
Ideally, I would like to be on my own, either renting something affordable for myself or purchasing a piece of property. We're known as hidden homelessness, so we're not homeless as in like downtown Toronto on the street. We're hidden homeless, so we don't have the money to be able to be out on our own paying, market rent or owning a piece of property.
They have this stereotypical image of what, folks who need affordable housing are, and that image is out the window now. It's your working people, it's your seniors who are struggling on basic old age pension and supplement. It's your youth who are trying to make their way now. Those are the faces of the people who need our affordable housing now.
Morning. When you wake up in the morning and you go to Tim Hortons or McDonald's or wherever and you get your breakfast and your coffee in the morning, you need to really look at the person behind the counter. Or when you approach somebody on the street, you need to really think about who that person is and where they're coming from, and realize that homelessness or hidden homelessness is literally passing you every second of the day. You're confronted with that person every single day.
The Home Horizon Transitional Support Program, based in Collingwood, bridges the gap between emergency shelter and independent living by providing up to 1 year of housing to individuals in need. The amount of rent is based on each individual's financial status.
We then, can pick up after Home Horizons if need be to assist them to get permanent housing.
Well, I'm pretty sure you did this at the library with Paige, right?
After Marguerite Karamatanis' marriage broke down, she sought help from some of the support services offered in the Collingwood area. She needed to find suitable, affordable housing for herself and her 2 daughters, Alexis and Julia. She was able to secure this thanks to the county's Housing Allowance Program, which gives a $250 rent supplement for low-income families to go towards housing costs. However, that program will be soon ending. How much of a factor will that be for you?
Huge. Yeah. I was very fortunate to find this place where we're living at now that met the criteria, but it was getting really scary that I couldn't find anything. At this price range, everything was higher.
Marguerite acknowledges that her financial struggles and desperation to maintain the housing she does have goes unnoticed.
During the process of the marriage breakdown, I've come across other women. They've been in the same situation, and we were able to tell each other what the resources are and what can help us. That's within that group, but other people that I know aren't aware, don't know that I'm struggling.
There are like some things that we just don't have that other kids have, and it's like I feel less of that pressure now as I grow older, but when you're young there's a lot of pressure to like fit in, and not having some of the same things made it kind of hard to deal with everything.
I'm proud that she keeps going instead of just giving up and keeps working. Gets money to pay the bills. I think home is a feeling, because just because you have a house doesn't mean it's a home.
They're my biggest cheerleaders.
It's me, my mom, my sister, and my mom likes to say after the storm there's always a rainbow.
Mandy Hilliard certainly knows about the plight of the homeless and poverty-stricken in Simcoe County. In 1993, she founded the David Busby Street Center in Barrie, realizing the need for such an institution within the city. Currently, she works as a nurse at Soldiers Memorial Hospital in Orillia for the KEY program, which is aimed at supporting individuals with serious mental illness. For the past 8 years, the KEY program and the Salvation Army, along with over 40 volunteers, have teamed up to prepare meals, load them into the van, and then deliver them to needy individuals. It's a Wednesday night ritual, 22 stops along a determined route, feeding almost 200 people.
My whole philosophy is to, as a worker out in the field, is to comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable. When you think about that, it's taking the time for the people who really need it and to challenge the people who have to start sharing their wealth. We have people who are spending 70, 80, 90% of their income on rent and utilities. There's no money left, so they're accessing food programs such as food banks. In Orillia here, we have 3 food banks.
There's never enough money. I mean, I was living on about $100 a month, like after I paid my rent and stuff, so there wasn't a lot left over. You know, just to have an extra meal, it was good. It was just a good thing. Just to have that relief of having something that's just there to eat, and it doesn't cost you anything because you don't have much in the house, you know.
Nobody writes in their yearbook, in 5 years from now, I'm going to be homeless. Bottom line is, people make choices. We all make choices. If you have some money, you can afford to make some poor choices. If you don't have a lot of money and you make a really dumb choice, you might end up on the street. There you go. Yeah, you can have one of those. Yeah. There you go. Hi, how old? 14. Do you want those kids that 30 plus kids that come to the youth center each evening? They're kids that come from really poor houses. They're kids that are throwaway kids. They might have a parent with mental illness. They might have a parent who's an alcoholic. They might be just no food at home. Is everything going okay tonight?
I think it's a great service for the people that are on the system and that can't feed themselves. You know, shortage of food through the month.
What's your rooming cost like? How much do you pay for it?
The going rate, I guess, is $4.60 for a room. You share the bathroom with other people. There's no kitchen, just a hot plate and a fridge.
Would you like some dinner? One? One guy. Here you go.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you.
So this is a motel. People pay $700 a month for a motel room. No kitchen, just a bathroom. They get their sheets changed once a week, and they have no kitchen access. They might have a microwave, but they can't have a double burner. And they're paying prime amount, $750 for a motel room. But when you can't find anything else, what do you do?
Since being laid off 2 months ago, Scott Page's life has been one of routine, consisting of organizing his resume papers and hitting the pavement in search of work, while at the same time trying to hang on to the single room he rents in a Barrie townhouse. While waiting for his EI check to come in, he falls into rent arrears for the month. He applies to the Housing Retention Program for low-income rental assistance, but runs into a snag. In order to be eligible for the program, you must prove that you have a sustainable source of income.
But needing income in order to retain the house, it didn't seem right.
Kelly Bell from the Barrie Housing Support Services acknowledges that this indeed could cause confusion for those in a crisis situation.
They don't understand why they would need help if they already had a job or had income.
Isn't that a good point?
Yes. It's a very good point, and it is very frustrating on their part, considering that they are going through this crisis and they don't have any income and they need the help, and they potentially could be having their hydro disconnected, or they could be evicted.
My name's Scott Page. I'm here dropping off resumes.
Scott then gets some financial assistance from Ontario Works. However, as soon as he starts getting his EI checks, he's told that he must pay back all of the funds given to him by Ontario Works. For the second time, Scott falls into rent arrears and prepares for his eviction. This time, the Housing Retention Program comes to his aid.
They need to be able to show that on the application, that they won't fall into arrears again, and that they be able to manage it going forward. And this is after the crisis has occurred. So they have to go through the crisis, unfortunately, and then come out of the crisis. So when they're coming out of the crisis is when I am able to help them.
During that tenuous period, Scott was preparing himself for the worst, including the possibility of using an emergency shelter.
It crossed my mind a couple of times when it was not knowing whether I was going to get any kind of help. It crossed my mind that I was pretty much going to probably have to use shelters for a bit.
We've found that we're getting a lot more calls and requests for rent arrears and utilities. So we could be doing at least maybe one a day.
The financial picture has since become a little brighter for Scott Page. He recently landed a full-time job in the city of Barrie.
Having a place to put my jacket, put my hat, and know that if I walk out the door, I can come back, I can go do what I want and still come home. Which is it's a great feeling, being able to come home.
After 8 years of an abusive marriage, Kelly Brown finally decided to leave the relationship and move from the Ottawa area to Barrie. Like many others on a disability and looking for a place to live, it was much the same old refrain when dealing with a landlord.
The first thing they say is, "Where do you work?" And I would say, "Well, I'm on a disability." And they would slam the phone down in my ear. Wouldn't give me the time of day. Didn't matter that I'm a good person. Hey there, Rosemary.
Kelly catches a break. Rosemary Soper decides to rent her downstairs room to Kelly and doesn't charge her last month's rent. For Kelly, this is a big deal.
It's tough. It's really tough trying to find an apartment that I can afford, that's decent, and that will accept somebody that's not working.
When I understood she was on ODSP, she needs a break. Those people need a break, of some kind. Most people are not willing to do anything for them at all, and they're just people like anybody else.
I stayed in an abusive marriage for 8 years because I was afraid that I'd be homeless. And that's what I was told by my ex-husband. "Oh, you're going to be homeless. You're going to be out on the street. Nobody will rent to you." And so, and instead of taking a chance on being homeless, I put up with daily beatings and abuse and broken bones and bruises.
Don't be so judgmental about who may answer your ad. Everybody is different. Everybody has a different story to tell.
There's a lot of us out there that pay our bills and just need a break. Just need people to give us a chance.
Why? Because my friend was homeless.
For one cold, snowy evening in January, this group of Park Street Collegiate Institute students in Orillia are trying to experience what it is like to be homeless. At the same time, they are attempting to create awareness. Homelessness does exist in their community.
By doing this, we have a lot of people actually looking at us because we're in a pretty busy street here, and they're going to know that Orillia has homeless and that we need to do something about it.
These students also recognize that some of their peers find themselves in a housing crisis situation, but often try to conceal it.
The school that you come to is really your only shelter for the day, and then going home to nothing it's a terrible idea, and I think that there should be something done about that, giving more help for those people.
I find Orillia is not so much living on the streets, but Orillia is more sleeping wherever you can find a place to sleep from night to night. It's not having a home, a place to call your own home.
These St. Joseph High School students from Barrie are making preparations for their lunch guests. In less than an hour, 200 people will file into this hall at Trinity Anglican Church in Barrie and will be served a hot lunch with all of the trimmings free of charge, made and prepared by these students.
Fun. You liking your meal so far?
Yeah, pretty good.
Yeah, it's pretty.
Did a good job.
It's shocking. You don't expect to see this many people down here. Everyone's just, a lot of them are really, really nice people. They all want to have conversations with you, and it's a great environment right now, yeah.
I gave you the applesauce. Did you like the applesauce? That's good.
It makes us feel worthwhile, and I know it makes them feel worthwhile.
Now we have the retreats, so from grade 9, grade 10, you kind of know what you're going to be seeing now. But before, like in grade 9, I wasn't like, I thought I'd be seeing people with no clothes, or just like you see in movies, and they're druggies, or they're all bad and mean people, but no, they're so nice.
Some of us can only afford to pay rent and not eat. Others have to live on the street so that they can eat. And you know, things like this, it really brings it home for us how that people really do still care about us.
You know, a lot of the days, the most you can hope for is a bowl of soup and a piece of bread, and this to all of us is something very special.
Donna was 2 months pregnant when she was physically abused by her boyfriend for the second time.
I left him and I ended up living in my car for probably, it was a couple of weeks I was in my car, but then it started getting too cold because winter was coming on.
She spends the next month at the Rosewood Shelter in Midland. At about the same time, a new organization called Shelter Now, which provides transitional housing for the North Simcoe area, opens its doors.
They were extremely excellent with helping me find what supports are out there in their building is also a community link.
Initially funded by private donations, the 20-unit housing complex provides safe, affordable housing as well as access to the on-site support groups for up to 1 year for those in a crisis situation.
The focus of this effort really was around transitional. How do you take people and support them from an emergency crisis situation and try to transition them into long-term permanent housing.
Donna's problems are compounded when she is laid off from her job. However, after staying with Shelter Now for 2.5 months, the organization finds her an affordable apartment in Midland. She's now in Ontario Works. How are you feeling about your status right now?
I have to say a little bit embarrassed because I never thought I would be in this place. I had my life all planned out. Get my schooling, get a good career, get my OSAP debts paid off, then look at having a family. If I didn't have those services, I would probably still be living on the street somewhere.
Homelessness is a challenge in a rural community and in small communities around the province. I think most people would recognize what they think is the stereotypical vision of homelessness. When we look to downtown Toronto, it looks much different in small communities, but the reality is it's there, it's very real.
Bob is homeless. In the evening, he utilizes the Out of the Cold program offered at 6 different churches in Barrie. His days are long.
It's very tough. You're on the street from 6:30, 7 o'clock in the morning till 5:30. You've got to go and sign in to get out and into churches. That's a long day walking. It could happen to anybody. I had everything I wanted and just went downhill.
Canada does not have a national housing strategy. It was discontinued in 1993. As a result, individual municipalities are coming up with ways and initiatives to address the affordable housing issue and homelessness. Here in Simcoe County, a family can wait up to 10 years for subsidized housing. Finding a solution to this problem is daunting, but you can help by first recognizing that homelessness does exist in your community. And then you might want to turn up the heat a little bit. After all, there really is no place like home.
As voters, we have the power to pressure those politicians to make this a priority, to look at safe, affordable housing for everyone, where people start to own their own homes. And it's a program where then they build up their self-confidence and they're not living in the same dire poverty as when they were paying high rents and high utilities.